So alhamdulillah, we know that as humans, we will never find ourselves in a position where everything is in the middle. We will either find ourselves in a time of happiness or in times of difficulty, in times of sadness. Very rarely do we find ourselves in a position where if we think about our position, we'll think, I'm right in the middle, I'm not too happy but I'm not too sad either. We will find ourselves swaying either way of that midline. And then we must remember our purpose. Allah Ta'ala tells us, فَاذْكُرُونِي, remember me. And so it's our purpose to remember Him, to worship Him, to never forget Him, for He is our Creator, He has given us everything, and we find reminders of His existence in everything around us. If we look around us, we will find reminders of Him subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so all of these things around us should serve to remind us that He is with us, He is watching us, He is our Creator, and so we should be worshipping Him and remembering Him. And so then, when Allah Ta'ala has said, in this ayah, in Surah Al-Baqarah 152, Allah Ta'ala is saying, فَاذْكُرُونِي أَذْكُرْكُمْ, so remember me. And when He has said, and remember me, often we will seek something in return. Very few people will do something and not expect something in return for that. So Allah Ta'ala understands this. He has created us, so He knows our nature, what we are like. He knows how weak we are. He knows that He has created us weak. خُلِقَ الْإِنسَانُ ضَعِيفًا, the insan has been created weak. And so in the same way also, He knows that we will often want something in return for whatever we do. So then when He has said, "Udhkuruni, remember me," then we will want something great in return. And so what does He say? "Adhkurkum, I will remember you." Can you imagine? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, our Creator, the Creator of the 7 heavens and the earth, remembering us. And then we see in the Hadith that He will not just remember us in Himself, but if we remember Him in a gathering, that He will remember us in a better gathering, a gathering of the malaika. How great can this be? SubhanAllah. What a wonderful thing this is. What an honor. And then Allah says, وَاشْكُرُوا لِي وَلَا تَكْفُرُوا. So remember that a person normally finds himself between 2 states. He's either happy or sad. In times of happiness, ease, or times of difficulty. So if you find yourself in times of happiness, in times of ease, and alhamdulillah, we all find ourselves at certain times in our life to be in times of happiness. We are happy. Things are happening in our life that make us happy, they make us smile. So at that time, we should be grateful. وَاشْكُرُوا لِي, He is telling us. Be grateful, show gratitude, do shukr. And what is shukr? It is to use what Allah has given us in the way that pleases Him. If He has given us sight, then we should use it in the way that pleases Him, and we should avoid using it in a way that displeases Him. When it comes to sight, we know that He knows wherever we are looking, whatever we are looking at. يَعْلَمُ خَائِنَةَ الْأَعْيُنِ. He knows when the person looks at something that he shouldn't be looking at. When we are using our minds, when we are thinking, then we should think good things. Of course, certain thoughts will come into our minds. This can't be helped. But we shouldn't bring evil thoughts into our minds. Because of course Allah Ta'ala tells us in the Qur'an that He knows what we are thinking as well. وَمَا تُخْفِي الصُّدُورِ. He knows what the hearts conceal. If we harbor any enmity towards someone, Allah knows it. But if we harbor some love for someone, then Allah knows it too. So we should always be grateful to Allah, and the way we can be grateful is to use whatever He has given us in the way that pleases Him, according to His commandments. For His commandments have all the wisdom that we need. He is the most wise, He is the Al-Hakim, the most wise, He has all the wisdom. So if He has commanded us to do something, it is through His infinite wisdom. He knows what is best for us. عَسَىٰ أَن تَكْرَهُ شَيْئًا وَهُوَ خَيْرٌ لَكُمْ. It's possible that you will dislike something that happens to you, but it is better for you. وَعَسَىٰ أَن تُحِبُّوا شَيْئًا وَهُوَ شَرٌّ لَكُمْ. But it's possible that you will love something, but it is bad for you. وَاللَّهُ يَعْلَمُ. And Allah knows, وَأَنْتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. And you do not know. We do not know. We have very, very, very limited knowledge. But Allah is the all-knowing and He is the all-wise. So we should be grateful for all the things Allah has given us, for all the good times that we experience. We must remember that they come from Allah. And so then anything that He has given us, we should use them appropriately. وَلَا تَكْفُرُونَ. And do not be ungrateful. Because we know that the punishment is most severe for those who are ungrateful. And the pinnacle of ingratitude is kufr, disbelief, where a person does not even acknowledge Allah. He does not even accept that Allah is his creator. But of course that's in the good times. That's when times are good, we are happy, we have wealth, we have health. But what about in times of difficulty? And we are all afflicted with times of sadness, of grief, when we don't know which way to turn, when we're seeking help. And at that time Allah says, يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا إِسْتَعِينُوا بِالصَّبْرِ وَالصَّلَاةِ. O you who believe. Notice here that Allah is now calling out to the believers. Before He was simply giving the command, فَاذْكُرُونِي أَذْكُرْكُمْ. Remember me and I will remember you. وَاشْكُرُوا لِي وَلَا تَكْفُرُونَ. And be grateful to me and don't be ungrateful. So He was commanding us. But now listen here. يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا. O you who believe. If you are afflicted with a difficulty, what love and affection Allah is using here. So He is calling out to us. And when we hear Ya ayyuhal ladhina amanu, when we hear these words, O you who believe, then we should pay attention. We have believed, alhamdulillah, we are mu'min, we are mu'minun. So we should pay attention. Oh Allah, what are you saying to us? You're calling out to us. Oh Allah, what do you want to say? What message do you have for us? Ista'inu bis sabri was salah. Seek help through sabr and salah. Seek help through sabr and salah. If you find yourself in a difficulty, then don't go and blame every person under the sun. Don't go blaming the weather or fate or whatever it might be, or the powers that be, or whatever a person might blame. No. Rather accept that this is a test from Allah, and so turn to Him. Be patient, and then turn to Him in salah. Seek His help. Sa'id ibn Jubair radiallahu anhu says that sabr is, so patience is, اعتراف العبد لله بما أصاب منه. The acknowledgement of the servant that whatever has come to him has come from Allah. The test that has come to him, he accepts that it is from Allah. That is sabr. That is one part of sabr. وَاحْتِسَابُهُ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ رَجَاءَ ثَوْبِهِ. and to seek, to have hope in Allah that Allah will give him thawab, He will give him reward. So to first of all accept that this test has come from Allah, and then to have hope in Allah that if I am patient, then Allah will reward me for this. This is sabr. This is what sabr is. This is the type of sabr that Allah wants from us. So then Allah Ta'ala says, Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu ista'inu bis-sabri was-salah, inna Allaha ma'as sabirin. Surely Allah is with the patient ones. He doesn't say He will help the patient ones, but He says He is with them. And when we think of when we are finding ourselves in difficulty, then a true friend, we always hear, a true friend indeed is a friend in need. So a true friend is the person who sticks with you. They may not necessarily say anything, they may not even do anything, but when we get through that difficult time, then we will remember, yes, he stuck by me. He may not have done anything to help us, but he stuck with us. So we always want someone to be with us in our time of need, to hold our hand, to show us support. And so Allah Ta'ala here says that don't worry, in time of difficulty, be patient, because inna Allaha ma'as sabirin, surely Allah is with the patient ones, with those who have patience. It comes in the Hadith, beautiful narration. Ajaban lil mu'min, ajaban lil mu'min. How wonderful is the state of the believer. لا يقضي الله له قضاء إلا كان خيرا له. إن أصابته سراء فالشكر كان خيرا له وإن أصابته ضراء فالصبر كان خيرا له. There is no situation that Allah Ta'ala decides for him except there can be good that comes from it. If a time of happiness comes to him and he is grateful, then it is better for him. He gains from it. And if he is afflicted with a time of difficulty and he is patient, then there is goodness for him in that as well, there is khair. So every situation is a test from Allah, good or bad, and we can find goodness in it. It is for us to find this goodness. There's a narration from Umar ibn al-Khattab radiyallahu anhu, who says, مَا أَصَابَتْنِي مُصِيبَةٌ إِلَّا وَجَدْتُ فِيهَا ثَلَاثَ نِعَمٍ. I have never been afflicted with any difficulty except I found 3 blessings in it. What are they? أَنَّهَا لَمْ تَكُنْ فِي دِينِي. First thing is that difficulty, that calamity was not in relation to my deen. So it may have been related to my wealth, my material goods, my house or whatever it is, or my family, but it was never regarding my deen. My iman was not attacked. And so this was a ni'mah, and so he accepted this as a blessing. And we must always remember this, that the worst thing that could ever be affected, the greatest thing that could be affected is our deen. If our iman is attacked, but we have everything in the world, then this is the greatest attack. And we should try to shield that as much as possible. أَنَّهَا لَمْ تَكُنْ أَعْظَمَ مِمَّا كَانَتْ. And then he also says that another blessing is that whenever he was afflicted with a difficulty, it never was actually as big as he had thought originally. And we often find this. When we're in the thick of the difficulty, then it seems massive. There's no light at the end of the tunnel. But then when we come to the end, then we look back and we think, actually it wasn't so bad. So this is another blessing from Allah Ta'ala. And also, he says, أَنَّ اللَّهَ يُجَازِي عَلَيْهَا الْجَزَاءَ الْكَبِيرِ. And also the third blessing in any test is that Allah Ta'ala gives a great reward if you are patient in a time of difficulty. And then after this he recited the ayah which we will come to inshallah, where he said, أُولَٰئِكَ عَلَيْهِمْ صَلَوَاتٌ مِّن رَبِّهِمْ وَرَحْمَةٌ وَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْمُهْتَدُونَ. Now there are three types of sabr that the ulama have mentioned. One is to stop oneself from evil. So you're being called towards by evil, by corruption, by things that will displease Allah. And you know that it's a sin. And you're being called towards it, but you hold yourself back and you have sabr. You have patience. Your desires are taking you towards it, but you hold yourself back. This is a type of sabr. Another type is to stick with good deeds. Often it's difficult to do this. You can become tired, you can become bored, but still you persevere. You're thinking that if I pray one more page of the Qur'an, let me just try, and then you stick with it and you go for it. Then there is sabr there. You've persevered, you have shown patience, so you'll be rewarded for this as well, inshallah. So this is another type of sabr. So the first one is to stay away from evil and to be patient with that. The second is to stick with good deeds. And the third is, of course, at times of difficulty. And there's a narration from Zayn al-Abidin that on the Day of Judgment it will be said, when all the people from the beginning of time and the end of time will be gathered together, it will be declared that where are the sabirun? Where are the people who are patient? Where are the people who are patient so that they might enter Jannah before the hisab, before people are held to account? So then a group will come forth, and as they're coming towards Jannah, as they've been told, some angels will come and stop them, and they will say, where are you going, O Banu Adam, O sons of Adam, where are you going? Where do you think you're going? The hisab hasn't happened yet. So they will say, we're going to Jannah. So then the angels will say, who are you? Who do you think you are going to Jannah? But the hisab hasn't happened. So they will say, we are the sabirun. We are the patient ones. So then it will be said to them, what was your sabr? What sabr did you do? What sort of patience did you show? So then they will say, we did sabr upon doing good. So we stuck with doing good. And we avoided sin. And we stuck with this until death came to us. Until Allah pulled us back. So then it will be said to them, you were as you said. You were right, you were as you said, so enter Jannah. And of course there is an ayah in the Qur'an where Allah says, إِنَّمَا يُوَفَّى الصَّابِرُونَ أَجْرَهُمْ بِغَيْرِ حِسَابٍ. Surely the sabirun, the patient ones, will be given their reward without any hisab, without being called to account. Subhanallah. It is for us to be patient, to persevere. Of course, when a person is attacked and when he is killed, then this is perhaps the greatest time when he must be patient. And so then Allah Ta'ala gives us another ayah. He says, وَلَا تَقُولُوا لِمَنْ يُقْتَلُ فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ أَمْوَاتٍ. And do not say regarding the people who die or who are killed in the path of Allah that they are dead. بَلْ أَحْيَاء. Rather they are alive. عِنْدَ رَبِّهِمْ يُرْزَقُونَ. And they are being given sustenance, they are being given rizq with their Lord. They are being fed, they are being given sustenance by their Lord. And there is the hadith where the martyrs, the shuhada, when they are martyred, then their ruh, their soul then goes into the shape of green birds. And they then roam around Jannah, wherever they want. They roam around Jannah, wherever they want. And then they come beneath the arsh, the throne of Allah Ta'ala, where there are some lanterns hanging. And Allah Ta'ala then comes and says to them, He asks them, what is it that you seek? What do you want now? What can I give you? So then they will say, what else can we seek when you have given us everything that we want, more than you have given anyone else? So then they will be asked the same question again and again, what else do you want? What else do you want? So then they will say, okay, we want, oh Allah, we want you to send us back to the dunya, so that we might fight in your path again, and so that we might be killed again and again, because we have seen the reward that you have given us. But then Allah Ta'ala will declare, I have decreed that they will never return there. Because once you have died and you have gone into the akhirah, then there is no coming back. But of course, although this is a great virtue of the shuhada, they've been mentioned in the Qur'an, we also know that the mu'min, the believer, also has great virtues. And we know that it comes in the Hadith, نَسَمَةُ الْمُؤْمِنِ طَائِرٌ تَعْلِقُ فِي شَجَرِ الْجَنَّةِ حَتَّى يُرْجِعَهُ إِلَى جَسَدِهِ يَوْمَ يَبْعَثُ. That the fragrance of the mu'min, the believer, when he has died, it also flies around in Jannah, amongst the trees of Jannah, until it is returned to the body of that person, of that believer, on the Day of Judgment. So there is much virtue even in the believer, even if he is not a shaheed. But of course Allah Ta'ala has mentioned the shaheed, the martyr specifically here in the Qur'an, showing the virtue and the honor that they are given. And of course the shuhada come in many forms. They are not just the ones who have been killed in the battlefield, but they come in many forms. A person who has been killed while defending his honor, his family, his wealth, he is also a shaheed. And there are many other types of shaheed, subhanallah. May Allah Ta'ala give us the death of a shaheed. This is a great honor, a great privilege. And then Allah Ta'ala goes on, and then He tells us about the different types of tests. And there are many types of tests we can have. We will experience many of them ourselves in this life, but we will also see other people experiencing them. وَلَنَبْلُوَنَّكُمْ, and we will surely test you. So He has already told us how to seek help in these times of tests, in these tests. But then He goes on and now He tells us what types of tests we can expect. We will surely test you. وَلَنَبْلُوَنَّكُمْ بِشَيْءٍ مِّنَ الْخَوْفِ, with some of fear. Not a huge amount of fear, but even just a small amount. Allah knows that we are weak. We are not able to handle a huge amount, but He will test us with a small amount. But of course, the person who has truly experienced fear, he knows how difficult that can be. بِشَيْءٍ مِّنَ الْخَوْفِ. And we know in the Qur'an, the believers in the time of the Prophet ﷺ, they were tested with fear when the people were attacking them from every angle. إِذْ جَاءُوكُمْ مِنْ فَوْقِكُمْ وَمِنْ أَسْفَلَ مِنْكُمْ. And when they came upon you from above you and from beneath you, وَإِذْ زَاغَتِ الْأَبْصَارِ, and they were blinded with fear. They could not see out of fear. وَبَلَغَتِ الْقُلُوبُ الْحَنَاجِرِ, and the hearts reached the throats out of fear. وَتَظُنُّونَ بِاللَّهِ الظُّنُونَ, and even with your iman in Allah Ta'ala, you are still wondering, has Allah forsaken us here? Imagine the fear that they had. These were the believers, these were the Sahaba radiallahu anhu. Imagine the fear that they had. But of course Allah Ta'ala has promised that yes, you will face some types of fear. بِشَيْءٍ مِّنَ الْخَوْفِ وَالْجُوعِ, and times of hunger. Alhamdulillah, Allah has blessed us with food and sustenance in this country. But of course there are many people around the world, Muslims, non-Muslims, whoever it might be, who are struggling with famine, with hunger. But of course Allah Ta'ala provides. وَنَقْصٍ مِّنَ الْأَمْوَالِ, and times when you will have very little wealth, times of poverty. And many people have experienced poverty and then they've come out of poverty. This is with the help of Allah Ta'ala. Many people have wealth and then all of a sudden overnight they find themselves destitute. They have nothing. These are tests from Allah. But we shouldn't then go and blame every person. We shouldn't then go and blame the economy or the government or our next door neighbor or whoever it is. But rather we should turn to Allah. Ista'inu bis-sabri was-salah. Turn to Him with patience and with salah. وَالْأَنفُسِ وَنَقْصٍ مِنَ الْأَمْوَالِ وَالْأَنفُسِ. And times when you need people to support you and there will be no one around. There won't be anyone around to help you. And many people are experiencing this. They say that the biggest epidemic now in this country is that of loneliness. There are many elderly people in this country who are going through whole months. If they are well, they go through whole months. They live on their own in a flat or a bungalow and they have no one to speak to them. No one to talk to, no one to share their memories with, no one to share their interests with, and they just carry on living. And it's a real calamity, a real test from Allah Ta'ala. وَالثَّمَرَاتِ. And times of famine, when things will stop growing. So you're enjoying your food one day, and then a famine strikes, and you find yourself with no food. So all of these are different types of tests. Emotional tests, khawf, fear, hunger, and then of course social stresses as well, where there are no people around to help you. وَبَشِّرِ الصَّابِرِينَ. But give glad tidings to the sabirin, those with patience. Give glad tidings to those who even in all of these difficulties they are patient. الَّذِينَ إِذَا أَصَابَتْهُمْ مُصِيبَةٌ. Whenever a difficulty befalls them, they are such people that they say قَالُوا إِنَّا لِلَّهِ وَإِنَّا إِلَيْهِ رَاجِعُونَ. Surely to Allah we belong, and surely to Him we shall return. أُولَٰئِكَ عَلَيْهِمْ صَلَوَاتٌ مِّن رَبِّهِمْ وَرَحْمَةٌ وَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْمُهْتَدُونَ. Surely those are people that upon them there are three types of blessings. They will receive salawat from their Lord, salutations, blessings from Allah Ta'ala. Wa rahmah, and they will receive His mercy. And we all need His mercy. Because when a person has made mistakes, then he needs the mercy of Allah Ta'ala. And we have all made mistakes. So if in times of difficulty we are patient, then inshallah we will receive the mercy of Allah. فَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْمُهْتَدُونَ. And they are the rightly guided ones. They are the people who have been guided by Allah. And this is the ayah that Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu anhu referred to. That this is the great reward that the person who is patient receives. Another type of difficulty a person faces is when he loses his child. And we see in the Hadith, إذا مات ولد العبد قال الله تعالى لملائكته قبضتم ولد عبدي. When the child of a servant of Allah dies, then Allah Ta'ala says to His angels, have you taken away the son or the child of my servant? فَيَقُولُونَ نَعَمْ. So the angels reply, yes. فَيَقُولُ قَبَضْتُمْ ثَمْرَةَ فُؤَادِهِ. So then Allah Ta'ala says that have you taken away the fruit of his heart? The coolness of his eyes? فَيَقُولُونَ نَعَمْ. They say, yes, we have. فَيَقُولُ فَمَاذَا قَالَ عَبْدِي. So then what did my servant say? Notice here that this servant of Allah has been tested in a huge way. But then Allah Ta'ala wants to see his response. He wants to see how he responds here. So then Allah says, what did my servant say when you did this, when you took away his child? فَيَقُولُونَ حَمِدَكَ وَاسْتَرْجَعَ. He praised you, حَمِدَكَ, he praised you, وَاسْتَرْجَعَ. And then he said, إِنَّا لِلَّهِ وَإِنَّا إِلَيْهِ رَاجِعُونَ. So notice here that he accepted that Allah is the greatest. He accepted that Allah is most powerful and He is the only one worthy of praise. And then he accepted that he and his child belong to Allah. So when a person says, Inna lillahi, surely to Allah we belong, that means that Allah can do with us as He sees fit. He is most wise. He can do with us whatever He wants. So He decided that He wants to take back His servant, this child. So this is what He did. وَإِنَّا إِلَيْهِ رَاجِعُونَ. And surely we shall return to Him. So this child has returned to Him. He belonged to Allah, so he is returned to Him. He returned to Him before the father, so the father is hurt by this, but he's accepted. And we know that the Prophet ﷺ himself lost a lot of children. And we know that when Ibrahim radiallahu anh, his son, his last child, passed away, when he passed away, then of course the Prophet ﷺ was saddened. But even then he accepted that this was from Allah. But the Sahaba radiallahu anhum noticed that he had some tears rolling down his cheek. So of course he felt that sadness, he felt that grief, but at the same time he accepted that this was the will of Allah. That the heart cries, the heart bleeds out of sadness, but we accept the will of Allah Ta'ala. And this is how we should be. So in this hadith, Allah Ta'ala is asking these malaika, these angels, what did this servant say when you took away his son, his child? They say that he praised you and he said, Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. فيقول الله تعالى, so Allah Ta'ala says, أبنوا لعبدي بيتا في الجنة. Make for my servant a house in Jannah. وسموه بيت الحمد. And name it the house of hamd, the house of praise. Because this is what this servant did. And you can imagine then, when this man goes to Jannah, on the Day of Judgment he enters Jannah, he enters this house, and then in Jannah, forever after, when he goes in and out of this house, he will remember, this is the Baytul Hamd, this is what I received in reward for that time when I was patient, when I didn't blame everyone, when I didn't become angry, when I accepted the will of Allah Ta'ala. And so this is the reward that this person will receive, a great reward. So times of difficulty will come, times when we will have to be patient, we will have to experience these. And indeed there are people who came in the past who often wondered, when they didn't find themselves in difficulty, then they used to ask, why is it that we are not being tested? Is Allah displeased with us? When people were not tested, when the awliya, when the ulama of the past were not tested, then they used to question that why is it that we are not being tested? Because when a person is tested with an illness, with anything else, and he is patient, then he finds his levels increase in the sight of Allah Ta'ala. And this is why the people who are closest to Allah, the Anbiya alayhim salam, look how they were tested. Look how they were tested. Ibrahim alayhi salam, how he was tested. But then Allah Ta'ala made him the Imam of the people after he completed those tests, and we have heard about this. We know that the Prophet ﷺ was given the Imamah of all the people, but of course he was also tested time and time again. He knew that he was upon the truth, and yet his own people turned against him. How much must that have hurt him? The people he used to sit with, the people he saw as his own brothers and his own cousins and his own uncles, all these people were turning against him. How much must that have hurt? He was hurt physically, emotionally. So alhamdulillah, Allah Ta'ala has blessed us. We are not tested in the same way. Allah knows our weakness. He knows the strength of our iman. That if we are tested in any way, then we should have patience. And with patience comes great reward, as Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu anhu says. Well, that will conclude inshallah. If there are any questions about what we've covered today, happy to take them inshallah. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك.